that driver starts up on boot. If you don't do anything, it's still going out and reading that, and like it's sitting well below, like it's like 0.1% utilization. It's really doesn't do a whole lot when it's idle. For me, it'd be fun to go and find out what that conversion is, and like just add that to my dashboard, right? But I think we can probably find something more useful for the last. So my flight is at 6. I need to be in Dallas. It's a 3-hour drive.
Oh boy. I'm gonna open back.
Some traffic too.
I'm hoping the tollway. Where do we pick up the tollway from here? Like up near Waco, or we shouldn't go that far west, right?
Definitely not Waco.
I can check.
I took 45 coming down. 45 to
This problem.
Jewett.
Close, that's close too.
Yeah.
2 different places you get off. Imagine there's a Buc-ee's, so everybody goes that way.
I didn't go far as the Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
They're putting one up in like they don't have one in Ennis now, do they? Or do they have the one in Ennis? Buc-ee's.
Not sure.
I don't know.
If I had time to stop at Buc-ee's, I'd probably.
It's a 45 minutes difference, or 40 minutes difference down I-45 when it was Buc-ee's. It's just set up going back roads.
I get lost sometimes.
We know. So let's visit our agenda and let's check off more items, right? Let's make sure. That whole process of adding new hardware, getting it into the image, getting to the point where it's a file sitting on a disk. I'm hoping that like just a file sitting in your system, right? And then like that should feel super empowering, right? Now you can sensor data, and you've just got all these different ways, these tools to manipulate it, right? You use your Python scripts primarily. That's what's driving the robot.
Did we already in Python retrieve a file? Is that what your last?
Please don't ask me to show you to read a file in Python.
Are we doing that all the time?
It's not too bad. Yeah, like there's a lot of tutorials online on reading and retrieving files and rewriting them if you want to.
We've been creating variables. I've been pulling sensor data, so I would have a library function. That function would return me data. I will store it to a variable. I don't think I've ever read a file. I can look it up though. I don't need to.
That is a very, very, very basic thing with Python. So there's a billion references on reading and writing files with Python. There are quite a bit also on UDP, but like you want your Python script to talk to this thing, right? You can read and write files, but these UDP messages are the way to go. We talked about sockets.
Yeah.
That's this.
Okay, so
you go and grab this, and you're gonna. This is a send. So you're gonna grab a port, and you're gonna. This is the way you talk to between your Python and your node thing. You can read and write files, and that's great and all, but this is a way better way. So you're just gonna send message payloads, right? So whatever your little things that you're communicating, you'd have this, and then your Python script, you're gonna have a socket read.
okay.
So this is the way that like your Python stuff is controlling where you're going. If you're in your dashboard, you want to tell it where to go. This is where. So send a UDP message. You can do things to format these nicely. You're just going to send it to localhost or 127.0.0.1 or something like that.
When we put our videos on YouTube, is there specific tags that you'd like to have on there for other Beaglebone users?
Beaglebone,
Okay.
blue, Beaglebone Blue. So I'd spike those two tags out separately. Beaglebone and Beaglebone Blue. You know, I think you're already kind of definitely in the educational robotics space. I'd say if you're using cool tech like OpenCV, Node-RED, make sure that you use popular tags around those. I like your point about having these names be descriptive. I would, if you could mention Beaglebone Blue in your names where it's appropriate, that would be nice. The tagging is cool, but you know.
Well, that also helps for the classroom, because people are in the middle of their project, they need a reference on how to hook something up. They go to YouTube frequently, and then they do Beaglebone magnetometer, whatever.
Yeah.
Is one programming language like more advantageous in Beaglebone than any others, or are they all pretty like level off?
There's none that really have really key advantages other than that there's maybe some additional library support for C, JavaScript, and Python.
Ricardo, can you update the
But
title?
otherwise, especially if you're using the Linux kernel driver to do the I/O, all you really need to do is read and write files. So you don't need to use a special language. So if you want to use Go or Dart or any other random language, you're pretty equal. With all languages, certain things have different performances. Depending on your perspective, you're either resource constrained or not resource constrained when running on a Beaglebone, right? It's less than your desktop, less than a Pi 4 in terms of like CPU, so and RAM. So you have to think of being a little bit resource constrained, but Python and JavaScript run really nice. C will generally run faster, right? If you write stuff in C, it'll generally run faster. Assembly generally runs faster, so you can kind of choose your weapon, but it really is nothing is Beagle specific there, right? It's just about, you know, different languages encourage you to write code that performs better.
Thank you.
I definitely have something we can go back to because we can try to go back to getting that magnet, the other I2C magnetometer running that we have. We've spent time with onboard examples. We talked about discovery. I believe there are nodes for Avahi, so you could potentially have. I'm just falling in love with this Node-RED thing again, but there's no discovery. So if Beaglebones are on the network, other Beaglebones are on the network, you could potentially discover them. So you could potentially use nodes to go and discover them. There's sorts of different ways you can use Avahi. I just encourage you to use Avahi to try to discover other nodes on the LAN. I don't know if the IT allows you to set up your own LANs.
Technically, they also kick you off if you hotspot their Wi-Fi. But
Right.
You're not dealing with connection to the actual internet.
For students, it would be kind of nice if you could have a Faraday cage room that's big and you can have swarming robots, right? And discovery. It would be a nice experimentation playground. If you had a building, a room, doesn't have to be connected to the campus network, right? But just one where they could play. It's just.
So in the past we used a router to make a local network, and our Myrios were logging on there and passing data between each other. Don't know if I have a clear variables between two beagles.
Background thought. Make sure to cover the questions. Do you need to monitor temperature? I really don't think so.
Well, if it gives us ambient temperature, it's really great for reporting, like a scenario where we're just observing the room.
37.
That seems hot.
It's close to the board, so.
It's like there's a leak. It's like Are you can come up with like formulas and calculate?
For electronics, that's not hot, right? So.
Just wondering, is Node-RED, you have bone script is already called in there.
Yeah, but don't.
Don't use it.
Man, I keep running into other ways to do things besides bone script, and eventually I'm just going to give up on it.
So I've managed to get it to like at least detect arrow presses with Node-RED app. So
Cool.
I could use that.
You could use bone script if you come up with more valid reasons to use bone script. You can quickly change my mind, right? This dashboard thing was that we were starting to create with bone script was, but the only basic functions we were using there are read and write text file in order to go and create that. So I was like, okay, it's nice reinforcement to me that bone script's really super useful. And then I started doing this, and I'm like, well, I don't know.
There's a lot of ways to do things.
There's a lot of ways to do things. If you ask me today,
For the educator, we have to
Largest
put our
community
foot down and
policy.
quit switching and quit changing, because we should update periodically, but we can't update all aspects.
well, what's things are like? Just ask our things that what things are likely to be there in the future. So things that are in the Linux kernel, that's not Beagle specific knowledge. That is, I mean, as much as I talk about it in relative terms of Beagle and how you can get things done great in the Beagle world, that's stuff that serves you way beyond, right? Linux kernel is everywhere. It's in your Android phones. It's serving the stock exchanges. It's on Google and Amazon, right? It's everywhere. That's not throwaway knowledge. And the processes aren't throwaway knowledge, right? It's collaborative software development, version control. So the computer science stuff that you learn is good. You're building on top of the stuff that's going to be around and sustained for decades to come. Linux, you're good. Librobot control, this solves a problem, great, right? That's, to me, is more fragile than Linux kernel. It's a great tool. Beaglebone Blue. Don't make everything about Beaglebone Blue. I don't want you to. It's a tool to get you there. I think it's a great tool, the best tool. But don't. That's not where you want to invest heavily, right? Your knowledge base. Node-RED has a pretty big following. I think it's pretty well established. I don't think you're getting too lost there. It's not as solid as Linux kernel, but the fact that you're just doing read and write files, and if you're not spinning it, there's not a lot of barrier to the knowledge. It's probably a pretty reasonable way to put your thing. It's not a Beagle specific thing. It's not a Pi specific thing. It's not a Node is, I think, going to be around a good long while. If not Node,
Node-RED,
other
you mean?
interpreters. Node and Node-RED. So Node is the JavaScript interpreter upon which it runs. It could get some significant architecture revamping or whatnot, but it's like Python, right? It's not. It's right now it's bigger than Python. I think Python's growing much faster and will pass it very quickly. If it hasn't already passed it, but it is on that order. Node is on the order of Python. And Node-RED is just a tool that runs on Node. So that is not anywhere near as big as Node, but it is one of the bigger solutions in the IoT world.
So it's technically, is that Node.js, or is that something
Yes.
else?
Yeah, Node is Node.js. Node-RED is an IBM created tool that was pushed into open source that a number of people forked. But they have a contribution model, and things seem to be moving along on Node-RED. Linux, Node-RED, right? Focus your knowledge mostly on Linux. Maybe not so much on Node or Python, but a little bit there. I mean, learning to program, yes. Any particular language, Python is probably a growing dominant force, so focus most of your language knowledge